Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Game Informer Show. This is the show where we inform you about games. I'm your host, Ben Reeves. Today, I'm joined by a great crew. I got Alex Van Aken here.
Hey.
John Carson.
Yo. What's up?
Matt Miller.
Ben, how are you doing?
Pretty good. Thank you for asking. Unlike these other goombas.
They just want to say hi to the audience.
Don't seem to care at all.
I'm just, I'm trying to be polite and pass it on, But I'm glad you're doing well, Ben.
Oh, thank you. How's your day going?
It's good,
Marcus Stewart.
Hey, how are you doing?
Thank you for
Alex
being
Van
patient.
Aken.
Oh, I'm doing great, Marcus. Thanks for asking.
That was
you, Ben.
That was awkward on your part, Ben.
Wow, what a snub.
It's like going in for the hug, and I'm trying to, I just turn away from you to go to the next guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we'll see it happens in person. That felt like a threat, like I was going to punch you. It's not how I mean it.
It did have an ominous tone to it.
Well, thanks everybody for being here today. I think we're going to have a great show. At the end of this episode, we have an interview. It's an interview with James McAvoy, of all people. You may know him. He was the young Professor X in some of the X-Men movies. He was also in Wanted way back when. He was in Split, which is a pretty good movie.
Oh yeah.
He's also in the upcoming game 12 Minutes. And ironically enough, we interviewed him for 12 minutes. It kind of worked out perfectly there. So it's a nice short interview, but he's a very entertaining guy. He compliments my cans, which I think in Scotland, that's what they refer to as headphones. So just FYI, everybody, that's what that means.
I was going to ask, which personality did you get for this interview?
I might have got multiple personalities, honestly, if you listen to the interview. He also tells a story that's pretty interesting about how he was playing Elder Scrolls Oblivion when it came out, and he got addicted to it, and he's like, I can't stop. And so he actually went and burned and melted the CD. So it's an interesting story if you want to stick around. I think it's an entertaining.
Trade that in
interview.
Yeah, maybe just get in your game next time.
I didn't want to say anything, but that's
it was a method acting. He was pretending to be the Dragonborn.
Yeah, he melted it with his breath. I should have said. I didn't want to spoil the whole story, but
yeah, for sure.
But before we get to any of that, we should start off the episode with our playlists where we talk about the games we've been playing and digging recently. Marcus, you want to jump in here? What have you been playing recently?
Oh gosh, Ben, it's been quite a few things. I guess the biggest thing is a game that I reviewed called Eldest Souls. I don't think we've talked about it on the podcast. We did an NGT on it, but it's this pretty fun boss rush, very much Souls-like. It's hard. You got stamina that dictates how you move, all that good stuff. However, it's a little bit less harsher in that you're not really collecting anything, so you don't lose anything when you die. And it's less exploration focused because, like I said, it's just a series of really challenging boss battles, about 8 of them, I believe. And you're just this little lone warrior with a big old sword that's heavy, and you're just making your way to each boss and taking them down. And it's very hard. It's a very hard game. It can be a little hair-ripping at times, but overall...
Well, I was going to say, this sounds familiar. It sounds a lot like, Titan Souls, I want to say, which it was the developer of the game that just came out, Death's Door. Excuse me. There's so many games kind of like this, and so it just kind of feels like kind of in that vein. Is it similar to Death's Door in a way?
No, well, Death's Door is more like a Zelda where you're exploring and solving puzzles, and like even Titan Souls, like that was a boss rush, but like the hook with that game is that you could kill every boss in one hit because you only had an arrow. Like, they got full health bars and you're just using your sword to try to just hack away at them while dodging like 50,000 things that they throw at you and trying to survive. And like I said, it can be very frustrating. The bosses are fun, but yeah, they throw a lot at you. But what makes it tolerable is that it's got a really cool health system where you're not collecting health pickups. Instead, when you charge up your sword, every time you hit an enemy, it gives you life back. And I thought that was a really cool kind of hook to keep me engaged in the battle and to kind of keep my morale high, because like you could start a fight and just get wrecked within the first few seconds, and normally you're like, oh, I'm just gonna kill myself, like this run is doomed. But knowing that I could just get in there and get a few hits and then just instantly get back to full health is like, okay, you can turn the tides pretty quickly if you know what you're doing. And it also led to some pretty awesome like come from behind victories. So that's I think that was a cool system, and it's got a like 3 different classes that you can equip, like pretty much like speed, power and like
counter. Right?
Yeah, like defense. And you can only pick one at a time, but each has their own individual skill tree. What's also cool is that you can respec at any time with no cost. So if you find yourself stuck on a boss that's like, oh, the attack berserker thing just maybe isn't working for it, I'm going to respec my skills and go into defense and try instead, which is, as someone that never respects in games, because one, I'm lazy.
You got to respect the game, Marcus.
I just never want to like undo all my skill points. Like, I already put 50 skill points, and then what if I change it and then I want to go back, but I forgot where I put them? So I just never ever do it. This is the first time I felt compelled to do it, because I got stuck on a few bosses where I was like, you know what? I started with like the quick maneuverability based one. I think it's called Wind Slash. I was like, this is doing all right, but I think I should change it up to something else. And like tried like counter, and then was able to beat some bosses I was on a wall on. And it's not like they're particularly weak to a class. It's more that, you know, maybe finding something that just works better for how you play. And I think I found like the counter class for me personally was better suited for me than the other two, but I think they're all pretty fun and viable.
You say it's hard. How should I be scared of this game? Like, how hard is hard, and is it approachable?
It's approachable. I like the first boss that they throw at you is, you can beat him in like a couple hits. I think it spikes after the second one, like, because there's only 8, so there's only so much time that you have to like for the game to kind of ramp itself up. So I talked to some other people and they're like, oh yeah, that second boss just wrecks you. So like that's the like trial. Like if you can get past him, then I think you have a pretty good idea of what you're in for the rest of the game. There was 2 bosses after that second boss that I was banging my head on for a long time. And usually the game gives you multiple bosses that you can attack in any order. So if you get stuck on one, you can just walk over to another area and do another one.
Oh, cool. Okay.
And then it opens up after that where like towards the end, you have like 6 that you can take on. And after I got past those 2, I kind of ran through the rest of them. I think those 2 in particular just beat the game's nuances into me, or I got it, because even the final boss I beat in one sitting. It took a few tries, but like those 2 bosses, like the 3rd and 4th boss, were like an entire day of effort with like no progress.
Oh, and could you clarify, Marcus, if I'm kind of ramming my head against the wall with a boss? I know I can go elsewhere, but is there something that is getting me more powerful after each run? Is this a rogue, like, is it a roguelike or a roguelite? Like, is there some sort of progression? Neither. Okay.
Yeah, there's no. Yeah, like you.
I guess that's you just do it until you beat it, right?
Yeah, like what's cool is that it has an instant respawn, puts you right back in front of the boss. So you don't even have time to think about it, which is cool. But
and if I'm ramming my head against a wall against the side of a building, that will also make me more powerful, correct?
Yeah, you're like Hammerhead from Spider-Man, right? Just
I will be soon. Yes,
you're working on it. Okay.
This game sounds fun. What did you give it, Marcus?
I gave it an 8.25.
Oh, that's good.
I think it's pretty fun. I think it looks nice, like the pixel art. I think the animations look pretty nice, and like there's some interesting world building there. Like I said, you're not really doing much in between fights. You're just kind of doing small fetch quests with NPCs. It's nothing crazy, but it doesn't feel like padding either. So I think I just think it's like a fun, tight little thing that's also incredibly hard.
For sure. You've been playing anything else recently?
Yeah, I picked up Dodgeball Academia over the weekend. And I've been playing that. I'm on like the 4th episode at the moment, and that game's pretty fun. I hadn't heard anything about it prior to it coming to, I guess, Game Pass. What was it, like Thursday? Mm-hmm. And yeah, I as a fan of Yu-Gi-Oh! And also as a fan of Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, despite that show's problems at time. Yeah. I was like, this show is basically that, but with Dodgeball. Because this is literally just like, hey, let's have what if we had a school where everyone was obsessed with Dodgeball and everything revolves around Dodgeball and everyone just knows how to play Dodgeball and that's how every problem is solved. Just like Yu-Gi-Oh! No cards, Dodgeball. And I'm like, okay, you're speaking my language.
I had heard it compared to Pokemon, actually. Do you feel like Yu-Gi-Oh! Is a better comparison?
I mean, tonally Yu-Gi-Oh! Yes, but Pokemon in terms of the world structure for sure. Like, it's, you know, like top down running around, like the infirmary functions the same way as like the Poke Clinic or whatever it's called. It's been a while since I played Pokemon. But yeah, like the way the text, even the way the random encounters work, is it's like you walk in front of someone and they're like, hey, I want to fight you. Let's go. Like totally goes for like the Pokemon thing.
Yeah.
I think the writing and the storytelling is better than any Pokemon game I've had. Like, there's an actual plot to this game.
Yeah, I mean, it's effectively a shonen anime, right?
Yeah, like a sports anime.
Yeah, like I'm watching, and I know this is like, it's like the man, I can't talk today. It's a low hanging fruit is what I'm trying to say. But like My Hero Academia, right?
Yep.
I'm watching that right now actively, and I'm like, oh yeah, this is similar to Yu-Gi-Oh. This is just this thing. Everybody's at this school. They've all got, you know, in My Hero, they've all got superpowers that they deal with things with. Like Marcus said with Yu-Gi-Oh, it's dodgeball. And even like outside of the school, it sounds like there was like the great dodgeball war. Like the world itself revolves around dodgeball. And that's how like, you know, politics and ecosystem, it all revolves around dodgeball. It's very silly.
I hope there's a twist where like they zoom out and Earth itself is a dodgeball.
Yeah, right.
I want it to be I want that to be the sequel where it takes a really dark turn, right? Like these were like the school days and everything was really fun loving and we're just playing dodgeball at the school. But then
now I've been drafted.
Then you go off to war, get the dodgeball war, it gets really grim and bleak.
Dodgeball war.
Like the paintball episodes of Community or something.
Yeah, exactly.
It's super charming. You know, I think it's a genuinely pretty funny game too. Like the writing and just the character interactions and all of the other students are so colorful and distinct. Like I said, John, you've played more of it than I have.
I think you've played a little bit more than I have at this point. But I'm
no, you guys have both played a lot. Don't sell yourself short.
We did.
I'm somewhere currently in chapter 2, but one of the things that we haven't talked about yet is each character kind of has their own superpower that's given by this mystical dodgeball that exists at the school.
There's a dodgeball god.
It's a powerful dodgeball that like fuels the school's energy.
It never stops spinning.
It ended the dodgeball war. So students will touch this ball and like unlock their potential. So like some will be mutated into like a balloon-headed kid or like a vampire. And there's a bunch of different NPCs around that'll have like different color skin. And you'll just like, oh, that's all that they got from their powers. But you'll encounter different characters. They'll have different powers. You can recruit them onto your team. There's a, like Marcus was saying, there's a lot of personality in it, and it's the writing's pretty funny, and the action's actually pretty fun as well. I'm looking forward.
I was curious.
Yeah,
I don't know that I have a good sense for like how it's like turn-based combat, or what's the combat like?
It's all real time. So you're playing dodgeball, sometimes 1v1 up to 3v3, and you're picking up balls and tossing them to the other side and trying to reduce your enemy's hit points. So it's not just like a one hit and they're out situation, but you are trying to
doesn't sound like
whittle them down over right.
Yeah, so dodgeball purists are gonna have a problem here.
Yeah, totally. Yeah,
especially when you're shooting dodgeballs like Hadoukens at people.
Yes. Yeah, so there is like a surprising like depth to like the mechanics too. So you can do a regular throw, a fast throw. You can do like a curveball throw that kind of like a backspin that like spins and goes slow and then speeds up. And then defensively, you can catch the ball. So like when the ball gets close to you, if you can try to catch it and you won't get hit like regular dodgeball. And then you can also, certain characters have counters, so you can almost deflect the ball back at them and they have to catch it. And then like Marcus was saying, I'm very early. I'm still in chapter 1, but you can like Hadouken. There's all sorts of, each character has like own special abilities, and that's like where you get into the party management of like more of the Pokemon side of things. Like, okay, you know, this character has these abilities and these stats, and I can shift their order for combat, and I can swap between them during combat. There's a lot of, that's where like the Pokemon influence comes into play, and everyone has different health, and like you're leveling them up, and as they level up, they get new abilities. So that's kind of like the structure.
Like different dodgeball rules too. Like sometimes you'll play like a straight up game where like if they're out, and then there's like an elimination style where like, I guess this is like real dodgeball. Like if you hit someone out, they can go to the behind the field of the opponents, and if they can catch the balls that their teammates throw and then throw them from behind. So that can get hairy because like as you're knocking people out, you're adding more people behind your playing field that can keep throwing balls at you. So you have to be even more defensive to make sure they don't get any. There was like one in a forest that I played where like we were in tall grass and we couldn't even really see each other that well.
I was messing around with the versus mode, and there's actually like you can have traffic come through, so like cars will just start driving through.
Is the versus mode online or just local?
I only played around with the local stuff. I'm not sure if it's online.
Huh. I'll have to look into it.
Mm-hmm. This sounds cool. I know, John, you're working on the review, so everybody can stay tuned for that. I believe this thing's out on everything, right? PC, console, Switch, but it's also on Game Pass too. So if you got that, check it out. It sounds cool. I'm excited to download it now.
Fun so far.
Sweet. All right. I see Miller. You want to go next? What have you been up to? You've been playing something fun.
Yeah. Well, one thing I had a chance to return to that I haven't played for a long time was Hades. That's coming out new gen here at the end of the week, and got a chance to play a little bit of it on PlayStation 5, and turns out that game is still real good.
Is it any different on PS5? I mean, that game already looked really good, and
no, it's really not. I mean, even when they sent through code, they were pretty straight about like this game is virtually identical to the prior releases. Other than some visual stuff, they take advantage of what PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X can do visually, and so I think when I played Hades, I played it on PC, and my rig that I was playing on at the time was like sort of middling. It wasn't a super demanding game, so it ran fine, but I'm noticing now greater levels of detail when I play it on PlayStation 5. And it is that kind of game that, especially if you've been away from it for a little while, it's super fun to just start over, right? And re-earn all the weapons and try to get your upgrades to a point that you can get to that boss at the end and start.
Even if you beat it once. Yeah, I mean, and I was gonna say, even if you beat it once, there's a lot of story stuff and other things that sort of happen even after the first, defeat or whatever. So
for people who haven't played it, I mean, that's the big thing. I mean, it's sort of like it's a roguelike for people who like roguelikes, certainly, but it's also a roguelike that has a lot of appeal for folks who don't. I think for many people who have stayed away from roguelikes, it's because there's this sense of like, well, I'm always starting back at ground zero, and there's no narrative through line, and that's 100% what they very consciously tried to address in this game. And the narrative element builds in the idea of like you have a character who's trying to get out of hell, and they die, and so they keep going back and having to start over. And as that happens, new things happen with the characters that you're interacting with. There's lots of interesting story components. There's a big central mystery at hand that relates to the main character's parentage and that kind of thing. But it makes it so that even once you win, it still has lots of stuff that you want to keep winning. You want to keep going back through.
For sure. If you somehow missed it up to this point, now's a great time to dive in. It was Game Informer's #2 game of the year last year, actually. So high praise. Check it out.
Agreed.
You've been playing anything else?
Yeah. I also had the good fortune to get to check out Axiom Verge 2, which was sort of a surprise. I'm sure it came as a surprise when just in these last couple days it was revealed that it's coming out. Like it's out.
Yeah. They announced, hey, this is out now. Like it's one of those.
Exactly. This thing you've been waiting for years.
This thing you didn't know when it was coming. And here it is.
Yeah, exactly. So they had reached out a couple of weeks back to say like, hey, we're hoping to surprise launch it, but we'd like to get you review code ahead of time and let you play it, but please kind of keep that surprise for fans. So we did, and we played it. In my playthrough, I thought it was a really, it's a great successor to that original. It feels a little bit more like it frees itself from some of the Metroid inspirations. If for those of you who played the first game, I mean, that game was like, oh my God, this is a Metroid game, right? Like,
yes,
you would.
Sure was.
I mean, I think I used in this new review the phrase, it was the most most Metroid-like game that you could play that didn't have the name, right?
It also looked like, I think it looks incredible, but it also looks like a game that could maybe have come out on NES. I don't know if it's technically possible, but it looked like an NES game in a good way.
And looked specifically, I mean, even down to color palette choices and things like that. It looked like an early Metroid game. So, I mean, Axiom Verge, the first one is an awesome game. I think there's no reason not to go back and play that one if you haven't. Axiom Verge 2, it's largely standalone. I mean, it's part of this broader fiction that Thomas Happ is slowly building out, that it's all interconnected. And there are some threads here in the new game that connect back to the original one, but man, you got to be paying real close attention and understand that fiction very well if you expect to have that, to see those like connective points. Instead, I think in many ways, this new game is pretty standalone. Like, you shouldn't feel bad if like you haven't played the first one, but you'd like to try two. And I think just structurally, it feels like it does more original things and ideas than it doesn't feel like it needs to have this part that is like Metroid, right? Like it certainly is still a gear gated exploration and platforming game. It's not like it's gone completely off from that. But I think it feels more confident in its ability to just be its own thing.
It also sounds like maybe it's not like, look, there's a few problems you had with it.
I would say that in that confidence to move away from a formula that's very well established and that is very well liked, there's things that for me didn't hit perfectly. It's a very large map. In fact, it's multiple maps that are kind of overlaid on top of each other, and so you're kind of like moving back and forth. Think a little bit like Zelda, Link to the Past. World? Yeah, like a dark world kind of thing, but it's not a dark world. It's just like another world that you're moving through that's sort of tied to the first. So it's these very large maps that you're moving through and trying to navigate and find the new upgrades and find where to go next. There's not a lot of individual bosses, and as you move between there are different named zones, but it doesn't really make a big distinction when you move between, like, okay, now you were up by the glacier and now you're over by the cliffs. You know, it just kind of naturally happens. And the cumulative effect is one of starting to get a little bit overwhelmed and confused, right? Like you start to lose a sense of like, okay, where am I again? And where are the places I haven't gone? And
the map doesn't help out with any of that.
I mean, it does have a map, but you know, this is one of those instances where the loyalty to the kind of nostalgic pixel presentation, which it has, which is a great thing, and I certainly don't have a problem with that art style, but it causes some problems with things like a mapping system, because everything's just little pixelated blocks, and so you're like, okay, well, what is that on the map? Where have I been? And so you start, at least for me, I found that there were numerous times where I kind of started to get into that fun flow of exploration, and like, oh, I'm running through a new corridor and I haven't been here before, and there's new monsters and there's new I'm trying out this new upgrade, and that would last for like 10 minutes or so, and then all of a sudden I'd like hit the wall, and then I'd just be completely lost for sometimes hours. I at one point I spent an entire day of playing, and this was, to be fair, I mean, I probably should have recognized something that I didn't. I moved past a gate that I shouldn't have and should have gone into it. But I mean, I think anybody who plays this game is going to have at least some variation of that experience where you get to a certain point, or maybe multiple certain points, that okay, well, what do I do? I don't know what to do. I'll go through the whole map again. And depending on your good luck, good fortune, you may or may not find what you're looking for right away. Some of that stuff, man, it's just like, that's a Metroid game for you, right? Like, those kinds of games have that kind of quality. But I think that many of the more modern takes on the genre, one that occurs most directly is the latest Ori game, right? Like, that game is immaculate in the way that it manages that kind of dynamic, right? You still feel like you're discovering things and you're excited about that, but there is a greater direction to it and a more even flow from one thing to the next. And
yeah, that game's great. Like,
that game's
we
amazing.
can take a free game every year, I feel like.
And everybody, different games can be have different identities. I don't need Axiom Verge to be Ori, right? It's its own thing. But I think that if you're into these kinds of exploration, find the gear that's going to open up this new thing, you probably also have a little bit of a taste of like, what is your patience level for just being really lost, right? For people who do like that, I think that particular problem that I have just won't be present. They'll be happy to like, well, I don't know where to go, but that's what the fun is. So that was a kind of a thing. I think some of the, like I said, there's not a lot of bosses. The combat itself, although you spend lots of time upgrading your weapons and improving your skill tree and all that kind of stuff, the combat itself never really amounts to much. The monsters end up sort of feeling like nuisances more than like a challenge to confront, which I didn't totally love. But all of that is beside the point. I don't want to dwell too much on the negative here. It's beside the point that this is like a really big and exciting game world to explore. The upgrades are really neat. It flirts with some really interesting like philosophical ideas about like what it means to be human and what is human consciousness, and even like where does the soul reside, like that kind of stuff. It only sort of touching on those things, but it makes for an interesting dynamic.
And where does the soul reside?
Well, you got to play the game, Ben. I don't want to spoil it for you, but it gives you the answer. Of course, it's got the final answer at the end of the game. So it's good.
I'm sorry, Matt. I wanted to know, the biggest thing about this game is that all the bosses are optional this time around.
Yeah, I mean,
you like that, or how's that?
Even the final boss?
No. Well, again, I don't want to spoil things too much, but I think it's fair to say I'm not sure all of the messaging that they've had on it specifically. There are some big monsters that you can choose to fight. But I don't know that I think about them as bosses per se. It's not like you come into a room and the door's locked behind you and suddenly the music is totally different. Well, sometimes the music is a little different, but like it just doesn't really feel like that, and really what it comes down to is like you need to get to a point that you've got enough health that you can just keep hitting the guys for long enough that they drop. There's a couple of them that actually you have to kind of think about an interesting way to use one of your upgrades to do damage to them. Cool. But they're not.
It almost reminds me of like the world bosses. I know totally different apples and oranges, but the world bosses in Borderlands.
Yeah, I think that's actually not the worst comparison. They are things that you can totally do, and I think you'll feel compelled to do. You'll see a big monster and be like, "Oh man, I want to figure out how to take that guy down." But it does have the problem of just in a game like that. I think if you think back on games like Metroid and Castlevania that you've played before, bosses act as a punctuation mark within the structure of play, right? You go through a particular zone, you get the new upgrade, you get a second upgrade, and then you run into the boss that requires you to understand that upgrade, use it in a cool way, beat the guy down, and then like move to the next story beat, right? Like that's not universally the way that these are put together, but it often is. Without that, everything starts to kind of flow together. And it's easy to start feeling a little bit lost in the just continual flow of endless corridors and upgrades.
Mm-hmm.
They're currently jackhammering outside my apartment, or it could be a guy trying to like hammer his head against the wall. I don't know.
It's okay.
It sounds like
crazy outside.
Sounds like you have a giant chandelier bin, and you're in the middle of an earthquake, and you're like ritzy chandeliers, just going back and forth.
That's exactly what's happening, actually.
Yeah,
my ritzy chandelier.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I mean, going back to Axiom Verge, it sounds like sorry for the Sorry for projecting, you guys. I'm sorry. That sounds like a cool game.
Yeah.
Maybe it doesn't quite hit the same marks as the first one, but if you like the first one, you'll probably dig this one. Does that seem fair?
I think that is a great summary. Yeah, I would not discourage anyone away from this game. I think it's really cool. It's got a really interesting science fiction world to discover. If you like the first one, you should absolutely give this a try, if only to kind of stay on the train, because I think the plan is like, well, man, we're going to have an Axiom Verge 3 and 4, 5, 6. Like, they're just going to kind of keep coming and blowing out this fiction and making it more unusual. But just know what you're getting into, right? Like, the Thomas Happ here is clearly a remarkably talented guy who's able to pull together basically this whole game by himself, as he did with the first one. And it's remarkable to see the ways that, you know, this represents this kind of singular vision from a very talented developer. But I think there's some people who may find elements of the game a little bit off-putting, or maybe like these things are it takes more patience than maybe I might like, but
Sure.
Not enough that I would discourage someone from giving it a try.
Totally fair. I know the review's up on the site if people want to read about it. What'd you end up giving it?
I gave it a 7.75.
Hey, that's a good score, everybody. That's a pretty good score.
It is.
All right, cool. Well, thanks for your time, Miller. I know you've got to run. I think you wanted to hit your head against a couple of walls. Is that right?
I do. I got to go find some walls. So,
okay.
So it's been a trip, guys. Always lovely to see you guys, and talk to you later.
Hey, good seeing you.
All right.
Get out of here.
Later.
All right. I looked far and wide for somebody who could fill Miller's shoes, and I found Brian Shea. How's it going, Brian?
Yeah, what a weird coincidence that we both wear the same size shoes.
That's right. You guys are constantly changing shoes, right?
Size 11, 11 and a half?
I'm 12.
Oh, wow.
And so
Ryan
is
is
Miller.
12.
Nice.
Wow, what a surprise.
Well,
Well, we're off to a great start.
I would love to talk about shoes with you guys all day, but we're in the middle of our playlist, Brian. You've been playing anything interesting this week?
Yeah, I was playing the Back for Blood beta, which is really great alliteration, but it's a pretty fun game as well. So it's from the studio that did Evolve. You may remember that game. It kind of was super hyped prior to release, but then it kind of released to a whimper. It was the asymmetric multiplayer where the 4 players were hunting down the giant monster, and
Really
it
cool idea.
kind of died quickly. It was a cool concept, but didn't really have any kind of tail end on it or longevity. But before that, that was the company that put out the original Left 4 Dead under Valve. So Turtle Rock Studios, they haven't really done that style of shooter in a long time, since the first Left 4 Dead, and now they're back doing it with Back for Blood.
Yeah, they did Evolved in the middle there, which I still stand by as a fun game, but it's
Me
fun
too.
to see them
Yeah, it
return
had
to
a
their
good time.
roots, and I think this game will hopefully have more legs than
Yeah,
Evolved.
you
Can you still play Evolve?
I don't
No, the
know.
server
I mean,
shut down in 2018.
Ah,
So you're 3 months too late. 3 years too late.
I was gonna
Yeah,
say,
like-
We'll cut that out. We'll edit it out. Don't worry about it.
we recorded this section of the podcast several years ago.
Yeah.
But yeah,
So,
you're having
yeah.
fun with Back for Blood?
I am, yeah. So they added a new campaign at the end. So this is the same campaign as they had in the first alpha, I believe. It was called the Devil's Return, I think. And you're basically working through an industrial park and like a train yard, and then finally a cruise ship. And it's really intense, especially near the end, where you're making your way across this like just overrun bridge full of zombies. There's all these different variant types. There's one that can like spit like this kind of like sticky spider web type substance and like get you trapped. And there's another one with a giant arm that'll grab you and just squeeze you until you die unless a teammate saves you. And there's another one that's like this big like bloated guy who explodes when you kill him. So there's definitely a lot of the same type of archetypes that were present in Left 4 Dead. There's also the snitch, which if you're trying to sneak through and it spots you, it'll like make a loud noise and attract a horde of zombies towards you.
Oh, I thought you were
Then-
talking about Quidditch for a second.
I don't watch Harry Potter, so
Oh, okay.
or read, but
At all? I'm sorry,
in
Brian.
general.
yeah, it makes being an editor of a magazine really tough when you are morally opposed to reading. So, yeah, there's all these different variants of zombies, and when you're going across this bridge, a lot of them pop up, and it makes it really intense. So basically, we opted just to sprint across this bridge, and then you get to a cruise ship, and they're like, "Hey, we've got to blow this cruise ship up because it's the only thing connecting like the overrun part of town with like the part where all the people are trying to live." So you've got to go and like grab the explosives from the humans that are on the other side of the cruise ship, run back onto the cruise ship, plant the explosives, and then get off before they explode. And for people who watched our stream of Back for Blood, they saw that it didn't go so well for us. We died.
No,
all of us
didn't.
died the first time. And then the second time, I think Leanna was the only one that escaped. And she did so at the very last second. Like she was jumping from the cruise ship to like the solid ground when it exploded. And the rest of our team perished in the blast.
Sounds pretty harrowing, kind of like Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I don't read, so I don't know anything about that.
I don't know about that. John, you've also been playing Back for Blood, I believe, right?
Yeah. I was playing that. I was playing in that stream as well. The thing that really caught my eye with Back for Blood was like it has those director moments from Left 4 Dead where it's sending just random amounts of zombies at you at like inopportune times. But there's also big set piece moments like giant Goliath zombies that you have to try to take out as you're trying to get through like a tunnel or something. And like that's a repeatable thing every time in that campaign. But it's always something that we never seem to plan for. Which because there's so much chaos going on like around the rest of the map that you never really think that this big thing's going to be coming up in front of you.
And in talking with the executive producer, her name's Leanne Papp, she said that that was actually a result of their work with Evolve. So they were like, you know, obviously the team learned a lot of lessons from Left 4 Dead, but that in particular was something that she pointed towards when I asked her like what the team learned from Evolve. And she's like, yeah, this is just something you don't see in other zombie games, is like this 3 or 4 story tall monstrous zombie that you all have to work together to take down. And it seems like they kind of took that from the game that I think a lot of people saw were maybe an unfulfilled potential title from them.
Yeah, it gave those moments. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Oh, I was going to say it gave those moments a lot of great urgency that I think is sometimes missing with just the normal sized zombies.
I know there's a lot of games that feel like they're trying to fill that Left 4 Dead void. There was even games like Payday, but also there's that Walking Dead game or Warhammer Vermintide.
Yeah.
Do you feel like
one of them?
Yeah, a lot of games kind of fit into that, but I don't think any of them have broken through in the way that Left 4 Dead did. Do you think this could be the one that's like, this is finally the Return of the King kind of a thing?
I mean,
I don't know if you're familiar with Return of the King, Brian.
Well, I don't read, but I did see the movie.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
how long can this joke go, ladies and gentlemen?
You know how it works here. We beat them until they're dead.
Yeah.
Yep, totally.
I kind of joke.
I feel like it has the best chance out of all of them to kind of achieve that. I'm actually a bigger fan of Left 4 Dead 1 than I was of Left 4 Dead 2. And
Really?
Left 4 Dead 2 was developed in-house by Valve. So whereas Left 4 Dead 1 was Turtle Rock, and then Valve and Turtle Rock had an amicable split, and Valve retained the rights to Left 4 Dead, and
we're going to keep this and do nothing with it.
basically. Well, they did do Left 4 Dead 2 without Turtle Rock, but then Turtle Rock was able to retain its name, because originally they were renamed, I think, Valve South. And then when they split,
Not a great name.
Turtle Rock was able to use the name, and Valve was able to keep the Left 4 Dead IP. So this feels like, I mean, obviously the name is an homage to Left 4 Dead. Otherwise, they would have called it something without the number 4 in the title. But it's, I feel like they kind of have the idea of what needs to happen for this genre, and they're doing it with ways that definitely pay homage to what Left 4 Dead was. But they're also introducing new elements like the card system, which the card system, I think, was my biggest point of skepticism going in. I was like, I don't see how this is going to work, how this is going to feel satisfying. And what it does actually is it allows some random elements to be introduced into every playthrough. So every playthrough feels just a little bit different. So one playthrough you might have extra stamina or extra health or an extra life, depending on which cards and loadout you choose. If you want to play one of the playthroughs as a healer, you can stack your deck of cards so that way when you draw, there's a better chance you'll get like healing and support cards. Or you could do one that's make it so it's better for scavenging. So like there's a card that makes it so you not only sense where copper is, which is the in-game currency for upgrades, but you also will find more throughout the level. So like it really kind of gives you more chances to upgrade your gear. But also there are different ways that you can kind of there's like corruption cards, they're called, which make it so that like certain segments of the playthrough will have modifiers. Like there's some that are like boosts. Like if everybody gets through and survives this section of the campaign, everybody's going to get extra copper to spend on their upgrades in like the safe room. Whereas another one like makes it so that the entire area is flooded with fog. So like you have you can't really see beyond like your immediate spot in front of you. So there are some cool things that I think that they can really play with. I don't know what they're planning on doing like post-launch. If they're introducing new cards, new randomizers, new elements into that mix. I think it would be an easy way to keep the game fresh. But we'll see how that goes. I think that's a really impactful thing that doesn't really click until you get your hands on it and see how it works in practice.
Awesome. Yeah. Sounds like it's worth being excited for. I know the game comes out in October 12th, I believe. So if you like Left 4 Dead, get excited and stay excited until October 12th.
It's my anniversary, actually. So I get Back 4 Blood and my anniversary. So
and you can keep your wife.
Yeah. New video game release and a very nice dinner. Maybe, who knows? Maybe some wine. It's going to be a good day.
That sounds pretty good. Celebrate with Alex vicariously through him. All right.
Yes.
Great to see John.
Yeah.
Did everybody else steal your thunder? I know you've been playing Back
of.
4 Blood and Dodgeball Academia, but anything else?
Yeah, I'm kind of the support on this show. Otherwise, the other weekend I played through all of Death's Door, which I think has been talked about on this podcast already. But all I really want to say about it is that I think it's a great, lean Zelda and Dark Souls experience. I think it's one of the best games of the year that I've played so far. Wow. And I do just want to quickly highlight, like, it's one of the only games that I've 100%ed in years. And I think the little hook.
You just want to highlight how good you are at it?
Yeah, that's what you're highlighting. So good.
I'm just really good at video games.
Just bask in my glory, guys.
Yeah.
But there's this nice little hook after the credits that gives you a little bit of mystery to start exploring the world again. After you finish the game, and there's still a bunch to look into and to find, and there's like that world is just super cool. I'm always kind of a sucker for the bureaucratic versions of like I guess for this it's death itself, but like having that super like people treating this extraordinary thing as something boring and kind of mechanical. I think Death's Door does it really well and with a bunch of personality, and I can't recommend it enough. So
that's right.
Go check it
out. Marcus gave it a 9. Go read the review online.
I did. I think the game does a great job of making you want 100% it too, because I'm not a completionist at all. And I too was like, I want to get everything in this game. It's much like Ratchet and Clank, where they clearly want you to find everything while at the same time not overwhelming you with a bunch of things that you have to find to 100%.
It's like, well, I'm here. I might as well.
Make those tasks fun to do and easy to accomplish. I think that goes a long way for sure. It's fine if you have 100 things for me to do, but make them fun to do. Don't make me chase after feathers or something like that.
Yeah, Death's Door does it. I've seen a lot of people sharing screenshots of them 100%ing a game more so than I see for most games.
Yeah. Sweet. Cool. That's a good highlight. Good reminder to go finish that game. Alex Van Aken, how's it going, man?
Hey, I'm doing good. How are you, Ben?
I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. I really appreciate it.
No worries.
Bring us home, buddy. What have you been playing? Anything good?
Yeah, I have. We already talked about Dodgeball Academia. I've been really enjoying that, but also Splitgate has come back from the dead. So I played that game when it first released in, I think it was May of 2019. It was spring 2019. And that game had a lot of potential back then. I really enjoyed it. For people who don't know what it is, Splitgate is, to be very reductive, it's Halo meets Portal, right? So it's an arena combat game, arena FPS game, where there are power weapons scattered throughout the map, and everybody spawns with the same loadout, and you kind of fight over those weapons and use them to get the advantage and play towards the objective, right? But the big twist is that throughout the map, there are these blue pads, and it could be, on a wall, it could be kind of outside of the map, on like buildings that surround the map, like really high up in the air. They could be anywhere. They could be below the map, and you can use those pads to activate your portals. And so, similar to the game Portal, you have two portals. You have a purple portal and an orange portal, and they do not connect until you have placed both of them. And so, okay, I want to be able to look out over top of the map. So I'm going to place my purple portal up there, and then there's a wall in front of me with a pad. So I'm going to place my orange portal there, and now they're connected, and you can see through and shoot through those portals. And so it's a arena multiplayer FPS game, but there's a lot of like puzzles. I feel like this is like just a giant puzzle game where there's other people that are running around, and it's how can I outsmart you?
And you can jump through other people's portals.
You can, but you can't. You can only see through your portal. So if your teammate pulls up a portal or an enemy does, they are opaque. And you're kind of like, what's on the other side of this? We'll find out. And that's usually a bad decision, but sometimes it works out. And then you also have your grenades, and your grenades don't damage people, but they do remove people's portals. So if there's somebody that's kind of like putting pressure on you behind you, and you're like, oh, this guy's going to flank me with his portal, you can kind of keep your grenades on you, and you can, eliminate his portal on the pad and put your portal there to take up the spot, so that he doesn't have room to place his portal. There's a lot of nuance and, small little moments and decisions that you're constantly making throughout the game. And it can be overwhelming at first, but I think it's one of those games that's easy to learn. It's a, Halo meets Portal. It's a simple concept, but there is a high skill ceiling. And it's really fun to invest your time into. I constantly find myself like learning. There's a lot of maps. They're all pretty good, honestly. And it's like, my tactic is I like placing my portal up there and then one down here. My teammate might have a different route they like to take. And it's all about kind of learning the maps, learning where you want to place your portals, and also fighting over those weapons to kind of gain your advantage. So it's a really cool game. I think it's effectively been, I think they're calling it like a re-release. When I first played it, it was, quote, early access, and now 2 years later, it's in beta after it's been re-released on consoles. But I mean, they've improved the game so much.
It's still not officially out. Is that the case?
No, it's coming out in August. I think the official release date is coming up like this month.
It was supposed to be like last week, but it's got like the servers basically broke because the game got so popular.
So popular, yeah.
Like it couldn't accommodate all the players, so they had to delay it.
Yeah, it's effectively been overhauled. I mean, it's the same, like, I feel like I'm happy because I get like a cool little, since I played it back then, I get like an exclusive like legacy tag. So I'm like rocking that, and everybody's like, wow, this guy's really cool. He played the game 2 years ago.
You should just like put that on your business card.
They're like grandpa.
Exactly.
Played SplitGate years ago.
Legacy SplitGate user. No, like as somebody who did play it a couple years ago, I feel like I have like the advantage as far as like knowledge. Like I'm familiar with a lot of these maps already, but it feels so much better. It looks great. And also, since it is a free to play game, the cosmetics were severely lacking 2 years ago. It was like, okay, let's make Master Chief, but we can't make it look like Master Chief. And it was bad. But now they've got like, I feel like they're getting their own style, and everything's kind of falling into place for them. And I'm really happy for them. Actually, I talked to the devs. There's a guy named Ian. He heads up the team at 10, I think it's 1047 Games. But this was a student project he worked on back at Stanford, and kind of assembled a team and assembled funding, and it's been years in the making. And I've kind of seen this game, pre-release back at PAX, then I saw it in its, quote, early access, and now in beta. It's really cool to see them find success, especially after they had a really rough couple of years. I think at one point they were down to like 400 players on their servers, and now they're I assume they're going to be hitting 1 million soon. I'm expecting
or they hit
that
like 2
announcement any
million at
day.
one point.
Oh, really? Maybe. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was when the servers broke, basically.
Yeah, it's skyrocketed, and it's really cool to see. So shout out to Splitgate.
I'm watching the trailer right now because I actually, while you were talking, went to Xbox.com and started to download on my Xbox because it sounds so cool. And I've been hearing about it, but I just haven't had a chance to look into it. But now it'll be the top of my queue on Xbox, but it looks rad as hell.
Yeah, you can play it now, right? Because I kept trying to, because I have it downloaded on PS5, and every time I logged in, it was like, come back tomorrow.
Yeah,
it's not up. And I kept doing
July 27th, it looks like. It was early access on consoles, at least. And now it's, I guess, going towards full. I hate that they call their currency split coin, though.
Yeah.
Is that the worst currency? I don't know.
But Marcus, there is a very small queue. I've played every night this week.
Okay.
And I've probably waited 2 minutes to get in. They've definitely increased the capacity of their servers. So hopefully in another week or two, we can just log in and play the game as we want. But yeah, so that's Splitgate. Really enjoying it.
Splitgate. Check it out.
I'm looking forward to checking it out. It does look a lot like Halo, though, in the aesthetics.
I'm curious how it's going to do when Halo Infinite launches. I mean, it's supposed to launch later this fall. So I'm curious how those... I think the portal mechanics keep it unique enough that it'll have some legs.
I was gonna say it would be a really crappy move of 343 to do like a portal mode.
Oh right, yeah.
There's no crossplay, right?
Yes, there is. Yep.
Oh wow,
awesome! So you can play with people on other consoles.
Yep.
Cool. All right, I think that wraps up the playlist for today. You guys want to take a break? We'll come back for some emails.
Yeah,
sounds good.
Sure.
Welcome back, everybody. We're going to do some emails here. Brian Shea had to run, unfortunately. He wanted to learn how to read, but still got Alex, Marcus, and John here. We're going to do some emails. These are emails that people send us to podcast@GameInformer.com. Once again, podcast@GameInformer.com. They send us anything and everything under the sun. John, what kind of emails do you like to get?
Ones with words and that are funny.
What a coincidence. That's the same email I like to get. So
I
please send
love
them.
reading.
Yeah, podcast@GameInformer.com. Everybody excited, so we'll read your emails. I guarantee it. This first email comes in from an Attack Corgi. They read in, what makes a good introductory game level, and what are your favorite game intro levels? For me, Halo 2's Cairo Station is the best intro level there is, with Call of Duty Modern Warfare's crew expendable cargo ship level close behind. Yeah, Cairo Station introduced the Covenant with Empire Strike Back vibes, easily slicing through humanity's best defenses. Crew expendable made me feel like a commando. And he says a bad word. Makes me feel like a commando right away. Attack Corey, come on. But yeah, I agree with him. Those are great levels. Do you guys have any good intro levels?
I think overall.
Go ahead, Marcus.
I was gonna say, like, philosophically, anything that gets me up and at 'em as quickly as possible in terms of like introducing the general mechanics quickly without too much meandering. Like, just let me get in there. Like, assume that I've played a video game. Just let me hit things as quickly as possible. I think of some of my favorite openings specifically. Like, I think the intro to Link to the Past is always a really strong one. It's, you know, dramatic with the rainstorm, and it wastes no time. Just like, here you go. You're going to the castle. You know, things have gone sideways. Go mess people up. I was reminded most recently of the introduction to Wolfenstein 2. And I forgot how incredible that game kicks off with the wheelchair stuff.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
I forgot about that.
In a game that, like, what a perfect omen to, like, how wacky that game gets to start off with something that is like, I don't think I've ever seen anything like this in a game. And not only is it, like, creative and different, but it actually works really well. Like, just wheelchair first-person shooter combat. So, yeah. And again, that's another game that just kind of throws you right into it. So, yeah, I say the sooner that you can get me into the action, the better.
Yeah, and have fun. I always think of Uncharted 2, which starts in media res, but you're hanging from the train.
Yeah.
And it's just like you immediately start and this harrowing climb up a train to safety. But it was like, man, what a fun little intro, and it's
Very
fairly
cool.
short, but it feels like super dramatic. And then you're like popped back a couple of weeks to the beginning of the game, which is also good. You know what? That game's pretty good all around. I'll just say that. The other one I was thinking of was Dead Space 2, which starts out with an attack by the necromorphs. It's been a while since I played it, but I remember there's like a transformation of one of the guys like right away. And it's like super close up, and
that's one way to describe that scene.
I didn't want to like be super spoilery or anything.
That scene is horrifying.
They remake it.
Oh my goodness! If they remade that today,
that'd be great.
I think
they probably will, right? With the remake of 1, they'll probably like show an up close transformation.
Oh yeah,
I bet.
Go ahead, Alex.
I think Halo's a good pick, Halo 2, but I think Halo 1 has the better introduction. It's iconic. I think you start off on the Fall of Reach, or not the Fall of Reach, the Pillar of Autumn. Sorry, yeah. You start off on the Pillar of Autumn. Everything's gone haywire. You're being attacked by the Covenant. You have to evacuate and get off. Cortana's stuck in your head. Just like this rude, introduction to each other. And she's kind of like walking you through everything. And it kind of plays well with the story. And then you get off of the Pillar of Autumn. You crash land on Halo. Come out of the drop ship, the drop pod. And you just see this, you see the Halo ring. And it's gorgeous. It's unlike anything that you expect out of at least to me, a sci-fi game. It's this lush, just landscape, and it's so good. Halo's really good. I think Breath of the Wild is my favorite open world introduction. Wastes no time and just like letting you go. Doesn't hold your hand really. And yeah, those are probably my 2 favorites.
I think Halo is a very interesting choice, in that it's one of those games where that was maybe our first foray into like a dual stick first person shooter. So getting used to those controls was something completely new for a lot of people. Same with something like Mario 64, controlling a character in 3D like that, and having the camera controls, and getting used to that kind of motion. Those first time experiences have to be super hard to design for, and how to teach people in quick and easy ways, intuitive ways, has to be a huge struggle through development. So
that's a good point. Yeah. And Halo, it's like, oh yeah, I'm setting up my Spartan armor. Yeah, I'll look up, I'll look down, like look at the lights,
pedestrian now.
Yeah.
And then everyone started doing it, and now we don't really see that anymore.
Nope. Well, now we know. Yeah, it's just kind of like most
like
people. Yeah, exactly.
Does Halo Infinite have that? Do you think? Do you think they bring it back?
I hope so. Just a little nod.
Yeah. And then like make a joke about it, like, yeah, you didn't really need to do that. But
it'll be in the middle of the game somehow.
Yeah. Right? Just really stall that pacing.
I want to quickly call out, I forgot, this is one of my favorites, the beginning of God of War 3. Absolutely amazing. Like God of War 2 for the longest time, like that Colossus of Rhodes fight in the beginning was kind of like the king of that. But I think 3 completely tops it with the Poseidon battle as you're like storming Olympus. Like I remember
you're like climbing up a mountain or something too, aren't you?
Yeah, you're climbing on Gaia's bags is like right where God of War 2 ends, like the Titans invading Olympus, and it's just all the gods assaulting you, but you're fighting Poseidon specifically. And I remember the first time I played that, like that whole sequence is just like nonstop action and just crazy set pieces. And by the time you actually get to like kind of take a breath, like I felt like actually tired of like, oh my God, like all of that just happened in like the first 5 minutes. Holy crap. So that's awesome. That's one I've always held close and dear to me.
For sure. All right. Next email. Matt writes in and says, here's a simple one. What character in gaming or other media do you identify with the most, and why? Do you guys identify with anybody in games?
God, I think we were asked this on a replay last week, actually. This is a thinker.
Yeah, I don't know. It's tough because like some of my favorite characters, I like Link a lot. He doesn't really talk, but
it's weird. It's like I want to say Spider-Man.
He's pretty funny.
That's another one too. Is like I really like that character, and I think like maybe identify with Peter Parker to some degree, but
sure.
I have superpowers, but it kind of ends there. Like the comparisons kind of stop.
Yeah. I feel bad because this is my answer for a lot of these kind of questions. But Madeline from Celeste has a very relatable like journey through mental health that I kind of saw a little bit of myself in. But it's that is such a personal topic. That's why I connected with that. It's hard for me in games like, oh yeah, I connect with the hero of time in of Hyrule. I connect with Link. Like it's just like he lives such a totally different. I don't know.
There's a difference between being intrigued with a character and actually feeling related to a character. Like you almost have to look for more down to earth games like
YouTube Simulator. That's really what
I was thinking of
Life is Strange is what I was trying to get
like Life is Strange, or on a similar note to like Alex's, like Night in the Woods had some like similar themes of like depression, mental health stuff that I like aspects of May's character. I was like, oh yeah, like I know what that feels like. But it's weird because some of my favorite video game characters are like, well, I'm kind of glad I don't identify with them because a lot of them are pretty messed up. So it's like I don't want to be Max Payne necessarily.
That's probably fair. Or Kratos. Or there's people like Nathan Drake who are like, okay, I do want to be kind of like that. Just a mass murderer is what I'm referring to. I want to be like that
adventurous
guy.
And
but
charming.
Not really like that. You know who I identify with? I identify with the guy at the beginning of Dead Space 2 who gets turned into a necromorph. Most mornings, that's how I feel.
Every time you look in the mirror.
Coffee. Oh yeah.
What about? I was thought of like Raz from Psychonauts. We're feeling pretty attached to him back in the day. He's a pretty down to earth kid, kind of that like kind of coming of age story kind of way.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I guess do you ever have those moments where you meet your heroes, like Raz has in Psychonauts?
I've never had a bad meet your hero experience, so
I don't think I have either.
Really?
Yeah, I've been really lucky. Or like the people that I've like wanted to meet have been pretty all right so
when
far.
have you met your hero?
I mean, like I don't have like a hero like singular, but like people, I'm like, I like that dude, or like just either game designers or like I've bumped into wrestlers and have met them and talked to them, and I was like, oh, everyone's like, I've never had that person like, wow, he's worse than I imagined.
Yeah, sure. Hey, you know what? That gives you an excuse to be that way to somebody else.
That is true. So if I am your hero, let me know. Send me your address, and I will thoroughly disappoint you as quickly as I can.
I can't wait to see what happens. All right, next email from let's see, Ugio/Hamster Giganti. I don't know if I'm saying that right. I don't know if this will make the show better, but the show will sure make my week better. So thank you, Ugio.
Hey.
He's sending a sample game for the panels to play. So you guys ready to play a game? It's called the CEO of Games. So we are all the CEO of games, or like independently. Pretend you are the CEO.
We have our own
games.
companies.
Why pretend?
Competing against each other.
Yeah, what's your company name?
It's Marcorps.
Okay.
Okay.
So you're saying you have more corpses?
I'm Benron. I think I'm maybe an evil company. Anybody else know the company names?
This is why we're number one.
That's right. Benron rules. While you guys are struggling to think of your company name, we're going to move on with the game. Let's see. You guys each have 100 GI bucks and are the CEO of games. We've established that. I don't need to repeat it again. So the point is, if you want to like make a port of a game, it costs 10 of your GI bucks. If you want to make a remaster of a game, it costs 20 GI bucks. If you want to remake a game entirely, think like Resident Evil 2 remake, it's going to cost you $40.
I need to write this down.
If you want to make a sequel, it's also $40.
So $40 for a reboot?
$40 for a remake and or sequel, basically.
Okay.
And a remaster costs you 20, while a port costs you 10. So like a port,
okay, I think I got that.
Like
I'm actually
Hades.
writing
We
this
just talked
down.
about Hades.
Mm-hmm. So a contemporary port as opposed to like,
or
something like Darksiders that was last gen. That a port is also kind of a remaster.
Well, if you're doing anything
That's
to it, if
15
you're making
bucks.
it look better or something, yes.
That's
If you're making it
$15.
look better or something, yes.
Yeah. And you said a new game is also $40.
So in this instance, I would consider the Mass Effect Legendary Edition a remaster, right?
Yeah. There's a lot of work done on one.
There was some work done. It wasn't a full-on remake like Resident Evil 2, but
Alright.
it was a remaster.
Okay.
Okay,
New,
so
new
got
IP, $40, right?
you have $100. How do you guys want to spend it?
Okay. Well, I'm gonna spend 40. If I've heard you correctly, $40 is a new IP, right?
Well,
No.
they didn't say
Oh,
new
no?
IP. They said sequel. So, but if you want to create a new IP, sure, I'll
it
consider
seems
that
like it's all.
$40.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, there's no new IP in the option then.
Well, do you want a new IP? What's your idea?
I was gonna say my strategy is that I'm gonna start with a new IP. I'm assuming I'm a relatively new company, so
Okay.
I need to establish our identity. Like, this is our logo, this is our Crash Bandicoot, so that you know what we're all about. So you got to get that out the door. I'm gonna assume it's amazing because it came from Marcus Corp or Marcorp. So that's, I guess, 40. I guess we'll say down. Then when everyone's like, "Wow, this is the company that made that game," I'm gonna spend the other 40 on the sequel to that. That's just better in every way and also wins 50 Game of the Years. And so that leaves me with $20. And now we're just rolling in dough now because we're like, oh man, they can do anything at this point. And we're going to assume that like I take a decent amount of time to make these. So like if we're going to like a new generation of consoles, and
I think
people
we're getting quite a bit in the weeds here, Marcus. Like,
I'm running a business, man.
What
I wrote down
remakes
the
and
number.
remasters do you want to see?
Oh, I've actually named what they are. That's
Yeah. So, for
It's
example,
like, what?
Mr. Giganti says
All right.
he would like to see a remaster of Red Dead 1, a
Oh.
remake of GTA Vice City, and a sequel to Stardew Valley. That's how he would spend his money.
Oh, sorry, this got too real for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were already working up your business plan. You were
Yeah,
about to
tell
go
us
see
your
bankers for a
5-year
loan.
plan.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'll cancel all these contracts. I don't know. Man, we're getting at
Now
this
he's
stage.
like, I don't know. Do you want a time to think, Marcus? I have mine written down.
Yeah, you go, Alex.
Okay. So we're going to invest in a childhood family-friendly IP. It was beloved. We're gonna bring it back. Sequel, spending $40 on this. Viva Pinata 3. Everybody's dying for Rare to make their comeback with Viva
All
Pinata
right.
3.
Good idea.
Does it run at like 26 frames per second, give or take?
24 to maintain the cinematic integrity.
Oh, absolutely.
Of the shots. Then we're gonna spend some ports and invest in some Switch ports. So we're gonna bring the Roller Coaster Tycoon 2. We're gonna be porting that over to the Switch. There's some Roller Coaster Tycoon games on the Switch. None of them are the good ones.
Three's on there, right? 3 Ultimate or something?
None of them are the good ones. So we're going to be investing in the Switch ecosystem by porting Roller Coaster Tycoon 2 and also The Sims 4. We're going to be porting that over to the Switch. What's better than building houses, in The Sims? Building houses in The Sims on the go.
Hopefully it's better than the other console ports of The Sims because I feel
it's going to be great. It's
I trust
great.
you.
Yeah,
Nameless
thank you.
company.
I mean, you can plug in a mouse into your Switch now, a USB mouse. So
At that
Problem
point, why not
solved.
just play it on the PC?
hey, listen, I just want these products available to where the market is, Ben. Trying to make the most dollar. And then lastly, dropping another 40 on a remake. We're going to do a remake of Splinter Cell Chaos Theory.
Ooh, that's a good one.
New
I'm
engine.
excited about that.
Yeah, new engine, cinematic third-person stealth. It's going to be great. Sam Fisher is back.
Yeah, dang. I wish I'd thought of the Splinter Cell
Interesting
sequel.
strategy. All right, I'm ready now. This will
All
be
right, go.
quick. All right, $40. I'm going to remake the first Mortal Kombat Shaolin Monks. So that's what
Ooh.
everybody wants. And I'm in the interest of making money. So there you go. I did it. And it's like, oh, you think that's great? Well, what if I spent $40 more to give you a sequel to that game? I want to test the
my
waters,
gosh.
see what you wanted. So yeah, here you go. Big sequel. What if it's like Scorpion and Sub-Zero? Maybe it's Katana and Melina. Who knows? Could be anything. Could be all of them. And so that leaves me with $20 left.
Mhm.
So I am going to spend $20 remastering. We're going to go a whole different direction here. But I'm in the business of giving people what they want. We're going to remaster Mega Man Legends for current consoles. Maybe just Switch, because I think that would be a great Switch game. You know?
You don't want to keep the PlayStation heritage?
I mean, those games were on N64 too.
Oh, right, they were. I
No.
totally forgot that.
Yeah, I mean the PlayStation one was better, but yeah, I'm gonna remaster Mega Man Legends like in a bundle, like 1 and 2 together, like kind of like what Advance Wars is doing a little bit.
Okay.
So yeah, the Mega Man Legends Legacy Collection is coming out. So there you go. That's it.
All right,
Mark
great.
Corpse, invest.
Yeah, that covers your $100.
Yep.
John, you got yours figured out?
I'm pretty close here. So here at Trashfire Games, we would like to start off by porting Mother 3 to everything.
Oh, damn it.
We're just gonna bring it out to everything. It's gonna be free as well. So as
Does that count if it wasn't
good
released?
faith
Oh,
effort,
it was released, right?
it was
Yeah.
released in Japan.
Okay.
We're gonna port the GBA version and translate it to only to French. So
Okay.
our French speaking fans will be able to enjoy this.
Okay,
this,
you got two
wonderful
ports.
game.
It'll have the same
Um,
font as the Final Fantasy remaster. The
Yes,
Pixel remaster.
Exactly. And then I think I'd want to remake Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3 and 4. We're going to move Vicarious Visions back to making Tony Hawk games because they're very good at
decision.
that. And I think we need to complete that quadrilogy. And then I have about $50 left, I think.
Wait, you do? Don't you have a?
No,
that was
sorry.
a remake. You spent four.
Sorry.
you spent-
Excuse me.
Whoa.
I don't think this company's
fudging
gonna
the
last
books.
very long.
I have $50 left.
Okay.
'Cause that was a port and a remake, so that's
Okay.
50. A sequel to Marvel vs. Capcom 3. That
Film
isn't
Marvel vs. Capcom 4.
exactly.
Yeah.
We're gonna skip to the ultimate version, so it has all the characters though.
Yeah, good idea.
And then the final $10. Let's port Blitz 99 to
Ooh.
Xbox Series X.
Okay.
Very nice.
All right. Yeah.
Very good. Yeah. Here at Benron, we care about you. So remember that. We are going to port Mario Odyssey to the Xbox.
Whoa.
Okay,
And then
wow.
we're going
Big
to
moves.
port Halo Infinite to PlayStation, just to sow some chaos here.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to skip remasters. I do want to remake Panzer Dragoon Saga. You know, and I won't shut up about this game,
Uh-huh.
but it is one of the best games I've ever played. I love it. It's impossible to go back to now. It does not hold up, but I still think there's some great ideas in there. I don't see this very often, but like you were a dragon or you were riding a dragon and flying around enemies. So you could like fly around the enemy as you attacked them. It was very cool. Very, very cool. Trust me on this. Don't go back and play the original because it's hard to look at it through
It's also very
You know,
expensive.
the 20 years it's aged.
Sega
It's not-
Saturn?
Yeah.
Saturn. It's like one of the last Saturn games, wasn't it?
The rumor is that they lost the code. And so that's why you've never seen a port. But
But
Or a re-release.
Enron found it, huh?
that's right. Well, we don't even need it. We're going to remake this sucker.
Sure.
And then here's what I want to do with my sequel. I'm going to make a sequel to Crystal Dynamics Avengers game, but it's going to be single player. None of this Destiny business. I want them to focus on what they're doing, what they're good at, what the team is good at. I really like their Tomb Raider games.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a focused game where each level is a different hero. And so they can still have different powers, but you can have the Hulk be a master of total destruction. And it doesn't matter if he's like way more powerful than Black Widow. It's fine. That's his role in that game, is to play the level where he's smashing everything. I think that game would be fun.
I agree. That's how I basically played that game anyway.
Yeah, so the single player, not to get too far
Let's get
into a
into it.
diatribe here, but the game story mode was kind of focused in on that, but I think it was still hampered just by the fact that how the game was constructed to
It was-
play.
It was weird when
multiplayer and
you
with
went
loot.
into like a multiplayer mission, but you were still playing it single player.
Yeah,
Like
they're
you were
like
very much in a
queuing up.
multiplayer map. It's
Yeah, you're like, it's just me.
well, just treat it.
Right. Okay. I think we got one more email. It's from somebody who wants us to do some character rankings.
Ooh.
You guys ready for this?
Yeah.
Some
Yeah, let me ruin this list some more.
That's right. We haven't done this in a while, but online we have a list called the Ultimate Character Rankings. It has every character on it that people have written in about. Eventually it'll have every character on it. It starts with number 1 currently, Arthur Morgan. Number 71, which is as low as we're getting right now, is Silver the Hedgehog from Sonic 06. Not a good character, I would argue.
No. He will not be voiced by Idris Elba.
It's no use.
No, that's right. That news surfaced recently in the weirdest way possible that Idris Elba is Knuckles in the new Sonic the Hedgehog movie.
Mm-hmm.
But
inspired casting.
That's no, I mean, it's great. It's perfect. It's amazing. All right. But Chris B writes in from Pallet Town and says, "This is my first time writing in since the Hanson era." Welcome, Chris. Thanks for writing in.
Thanks,
I just
Chris.
wanted to say that I love what you guys have done with the show, especially the the scientific character rankings. My friend and I love the segment so much that we started a podcast to rank every single Pokemon in a similar scientific way. That sounds cool, Chris. What's the show called? We should listen in. We're up to around 250 with a long way to go. All that is to say, I would love if you guys would add a few more Pokemon to your list. So here are my characters for consideration. I'll keep it Gen 1, so hopefully you all recognize them.
Yeah,
These are all
idea.
These are all Gen 1 Pokemon characters for us to rank. And I'm trying to remember who we even have on the list. I know we have Pikachu on there.
Yeah, we have Pikachu, and the last time that I ranked somebody, I put Charizard above Pikachu.
Yeah, that was a good call.
24 and 25.
You were part of that.
I
problem.
was.
That's a good call. I agree.
Yeah. Charizard is number 24. Pikachu is currently number 25, just to give you guys a sense for the list. All right, the first character on Chris's list is Gengar. You guys remember Gengar?
Yeah.
My
cool about him?
favorite Pokemon.
Is he really?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, my favorite. So
Gengar is a lot of people's favorite.
I'm gonna argue that Gengar should go at least above Pikachu.
Okay.
If
What do you
Gengar
like
does not
about
go
him
above
on here?
Charizard.
Why would you put him that high?
Just because he's rad, dude. Could I say a more lame phrase? He's rad, dude.
Radical, dude. That's totally bodacious. I get
He's
it.
so good. No, he puts people to sleep. He haunts their dreams. He eats their dreams. He's a frightening force against you, but he could be a great friend as well.
Sounds like my grandpa a little bit.
Grandpa eats your dreams.
Definitely haunts him. Gengar is cool because he is somehow Haunter is more terrifying to me.
Yes,
but Gengar is the evolved form of Haunter, and he's just got that little chubby belly, and he kind of looks fun and almost cuddly, right?
Yeah.
You could hug him.
Yeah, but he's pretty powerful too. He was definitely on my team of 6 when I went against the Final Four.
And he is one of the few Pokemon that you can only get by trading. That's how he evolved, is through a trade with a friend.
Really?
Yeah.
Changes.
Okay. See, all right. I guess I'm the outlier here. This is going to be a controversial take, everybody, so get ready. But Gengar has always been my least favorite of that line of evolutions. I vastly prefer Ghastly and Haunter.
I like Ghastly the best, yeah.
I do like Ghastly the best. I think his design's cool. I like his voice in the anime. And then Haunter.
His voice.
Wait,
Ghastly.
It's like Ghastly.
I actually have.
It just sounds like the
Gengar right
Oh,
here.
wow.
Love this guy. Look at this little smirk.
I don't dislike
maybe evil, but he's
mischievous.
Suspicious at best.
Well, Gengar represents Ghastly in this scenario because he has
But he's
evolved.
not Ghastly though.
That's true. He's
But
not.
Ghastly lives inside of him though. He's very
Does Ghastly also live inside me?
That's like saying the 5-year-old me lives inside of me physically. It's kind of weird.
It's true.
Well,
I mean, I don't know. Like, I don't dislike Gengar, but yeah, he's much lower on the ladder than Ghastly and Haunter. So I think he should be above. So what are you gonna?
we're not comparing.
I think I was gonna agree with him. I really like Ghastly, but Pikachu is still above him for me. Like just iconic status alone. Like
You mean above
can't
Ghastly
compete.
or Gengar?
I think Pikachu is above Gengar. Sorry.
I should also point out that Pikachu shares a placement with Midna and Princess Peach.
Yeah, how did Midna
So we
get in
also
there?
have to compare those. I guess.
I think the last time I saw it was just Princess Peach. I missed the Midna episode.
It's a very scientific list. Who can argue with it?
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
I don't think Gengar's cooler than Charizard or Pikachu, personally.
Yeah, I would agree with that. But I don't think he's at the bottom of the list.
No,
Oh, no,
absolutely
no,
not.
no.
No, I'm
Well,
not suggesting that.
A little bit further down is like Alex Vance, who I think is more of a character and maybe doesn't look as cuddly, but
Mhm.
I don't know. I
think,
really like
like-
Alex Vance too. I kind of want to see him below that. Then you got Scorpion, who's super iconic.
I was thinking
Oh.
like if we go down to like the late 30s, early 40s, there would be a good spot for Gengar there.
Okay, sure. Skull Kid is a good, interesting comparison. Another
I
kind of
guess in
pseudo
terms of,
spooky
like,
character.
Cultural relevance, I can concede that Gengar can go lower on the list. I think I can let that happen.
I think Gengar can. It's either like right above Skull Kid or right below. Oh, I don't know. Titus is right there. I mean, I don't care about Titus, but
I mean, Mimir and Guybrush Threepwood, I can see him up there near Spyro. Spyro's at 37. Where are you guys feeling? John, Marcus?
He's
I-
cooler than Spyro. Like just all
Yeah.
around.
I don't know if he's cooler than Mega Man, though.
no,
No,
I think
he's
right
not.
above Spyro.
That's
Definitely
tough.
is. That's a
Between
tough
Spyro
spot.
and Mega Man now?
I
think
think
so.
Mega Man is terribly low on this list, but I wasn't part of that decision. So,
That's fine. Gengar, the new number 37. All right.
Great.
Number 2 on Chris's list. You guys ready for this? This
Hmm.
this could be a big one. I'm not sure. Squirtle.
Oh,
Oh, Squirtle's high.
yeah, Squirtle's high.
Come on, he's the best starter.
Is he the best starter?
And I've always
I mean,
preferred him.
Top
to-
3 for sure. You know,
He's
all
top
right, so
3. I'll give you that.
top 3 of red and blue. Yes. Well, I mean, here's the thing. In red and blue, Charmander is cooler in the sense that like everybody
He's
wants
water,
a Charizard, right?
So obviously he's
Right.
cooler.
Charmander or Squirtle is easier to start with because starting the game with Charmander is very hard because the first 2 gyms he sucks against because it's
Yeah.
rock and water.
Mhm.
So it's like you're effectively playing the game on hard mode when you start with Charmander.
which I did. Just
And I
wanna
have
say.
too. Where Squirtle, it's a lot easier because you can wipe the floor with Brock. I mean, Vina-
Everybody, yeah.
and, yeah, like I mean, Misty, you're kind of even. Like Bulbasaur's
But
the
by
easy
that
one to
point,
keep-
yeah. By the time you're at Misty with Squirtle, though, you probably have like a Butterfree.
yeah, like or like a decent grass type.
Yeah.
And like Squirtle's, he's cute. He's got one of the cutest kind of like calls, I guess. If we're going with like anime Squirtle, like I just like his voice.
He's
And
a
also,
volunteer firefighter.
yeah,
That's true. And
has sunglasses.
and that's the thing too. Are we? And we had this discussion with Pikachu and Charizard. Are we talking about like the game version, or are we going with like Ash's Squirtle?
I think we got to go with the game only, and we can't factor in anime too much.
Okay.
I do
Good.
like that Squirtle. Squirtle has this phase where he goes through wearing sunglasses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
that's
there are representations of Squirtles in the games that has those,
the Squirtle Squad.
yeah, the accessories. So
Mhm.
we
I
can
think that's
include
fine.
that.
We can include that, but yeah, Squirtle. I don't think we include Wartortle or
I don't think you
Blastoise.
can.
Blastoise,
Yeah, because
yeah.
Blastoise is pretty rad.
Blastoise would be at the top of this
He's
list.
super cool.
different
Yeah.
character. I want to say.
Yeah, different
Yeah.
character.
Also, did it take you guys as long? I thought for the longest time he was called Squirtle because he's a turtle that squirts water, which is what he totally does. But I was informed many years later that it's because he has a squirrel tail.
It-
And I think-
No. What?
Because he has a curly tail
he's
like a squirrel.
turtle. Yeah.
No.
And I was like,
I-
oh, what?
I
that's
also
why?
didn't know
Apparently,
that.
that's actually what it is.
I think it's just a portmanteau for everything.
Yeah, I was like, wait, so because mine is correct too, but apparently I think canonically it's referencing that he has a squirrel tail.
They really
that is-
drop it for
I think that
Blastoise.
is
I
supposed
hate
to drop
that.
down the list. Like, to the point.
I hate
mean,
that.
we can keep believing the other thing.
I mean, that makes
Yeah.
way more sense, right?
Author intent is thrown out the door with Squirtle.
Gosh, I don't know. Yeah, that's.
Do we have
pathetic.
any other water themed characters in here that we can?
No, but we brought up
comparison?
Charizard. I think that's a fair comparison
I guess Tidus
because
counts. He plays a water
Yeah, is he
sport.
better or
Yeah,
worse
sure.
than Tidus?
Better.
Blitzball.
I mean, yeah, he's better. He's better than Gengar personally.
Yeah.
So I think he's definitely not in that range. He's probably, I think maybe around that, like maybe between Sam Fisher and Solaire. That's what I'm thinking initially.
I was even going to go higher. I was going to put him above Cassandra from Assassin's Creed.
Yeah.
Oh wow. I didn't think I was gonna. I didn't think putting him above Orin was gonna fly.
I don't know,
gonna,
but putting him above Chuck Green is
Yeah.
way
I mean,
better.
I don't know how Chuck Green is above Orin personally, but
Yeah, the science. We got to measure the science, right?
I like Cassandra a lot though. And that's
Better
not
than
a
turtle that squirts water.
That's also
Sorry, a turtle that has a squirrel tail. No,
like you're just coming to grips with that.
no,
Maybe
this is hard.
maybe above
man.
Chuck Green, below Cassandra.
I
I know a
can
lot of
live
people
with
like
that.
Cassandra. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fine with me. You guys feel good about that one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Squirtle, the new number 31. Welcome to the team. All right, here we go. Pulling out some big guns in a sense. Chris B, final character on the list. Mewtwo.
Ooh.
It's hard for me to
Lower than the other two.
Ooh.
Wow, coming out of the
Really?
gate. I was just gonna say
immediately.
it's hard for me to disconnect my appreciation for Mewtwo from like other media because I feel like I have such a picture in my head of what Mewtwo is based on like the movies and the show.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
based in the game, he's not really much of a character, right? He's just like ultra powerful Pokemon.
No, but
The
there is
games
like a
haven't-
small storyline regarding him in Cinnabar Island, like the
True.
a scientist finding Mew and like taking its cells and growing its own version of it, which is Mewtwo, and like experimenting on it in the lab there. I'd say out of most other Pokemon in red, blue, and yellow, it has more story than anything else. So
Oh, for sure.
I like Mewtwo because I like, psychically powerful Pokemon and I like that he's super powerful. There's something about his look that is it just me? Like I don't
kinda
like his look.
lame.
I don't like
a
his
hairless
hands.
cat.
His fingers have always bothered me, but
I
that's
don't like
about
how
it.
The
humanoid he
ball
is.
fingers.
His
Yeah.
ball fingers. Yeah,
I
that's
like
the only-
Mew's look a lot. I like how Mew is just like this floating,
Simple.
like cute little animal that I could have as a pet. But like Mewtwo is like he's so different from Mew. It's like
Helping
so
a
I
weird
mean,
genetic
he's
looking.
supposed to
experiment.
be gross, though, right? Because he's supposed to be basically an abomination.
yeah,
Is he?
Mission accomplished.
I mean, he was created by man. He's his very existence spits in the eye of God. Really.
of Arceus itself. Yeah,
I mean, and like the backstory stuff. I mean, the games have, at least if I remember Pokemon Yellow, they kind of retroactively added the stuff that they introduced in the anime to the games. Of like, don't you fight him in Yellow when he's wearing the like cyber suit that he
yeah. I
breaks
think
out
they
of
did
in?
add that. Yeah,
And I've always thought he was cool and also kind of terrifying. Like I mean, again, trying to separate it from the show, but even in the games, that mystery of like, having to find him in the whatever the cave is that he's in,
Yeah.
and like after the game,
And he's just
like,
waiting for you there.
yeah, he's just like that's terrible. And like the little whispers I would talk to friends in school about like how do you get to him, and like everyone had a story about like, man, I faced Mewtwo and I had this lineup and it just didn't work, and like trying to figure out what Pokemon to bring. I think the mystique around him is so strong.
And just trying to capture him, especially if you
Use
used
your Master Ball.
if you use your Master Ball on something else like an idiot child, like trying to like, is there any way I can capture this guy if he has a sliver of health?
That's a good point. Those are good points.
I think he's.
Hmm.
I think he's high. I mean, he's.
I don't know. I am tempted to put him below Squirtle though, just because I don't like the
I
way
think
he
so.
looks. And Squirtle's so cute and lovable, and he's so iconic, and Mewtwo is also iconic. But
You want to hear another thing in a similar vein to Squirtle's mind-blowing revelation? Apparently Mewtwo, and I guess Mewtwo, but
Wait, does it
Mewtwo's-
mean Mew and he's the second one?
Yeah.
Says Mewtwo.
Yes,
Wow.
exactly.
Yep.
But no,
That's
apparently
wild.
I saw like official
wait, that's a
material-
revelation for you guys?
No, we're just kidding.
Oh, okay. I was like, wait,
Go
I'm
on.
still waiting for it.
Then had a revelation that we're idiots. But no, I saw official material that described Mewtwo as a cat.
No.
Wait, the original Mew, you mean?
No, Mewtwo.
Cat-like.
Well, is that just because like
He's
Mew
like,
is cat-like?
It looks like a hairless cat.
yeah.
It's
I
like-
always.
I mean, I
thought
think
Mew
that's
was more
because
like
isn't
a
Mew?
shrew.
That's kind of like what a cat sounds like in Japan. Don't they have a different way of describing a meow? Is it Mew?
Sure.
Yeah,
I
like
think it
Mew.
might be that. But
Yeah, that like, would that like mess with my perception of Mewtwo, thinking of him just as a big angry psychic cat?
That stands on
Actually,
two legs.
when you describe him like that, it makes it sound kind of cool. But then when you see him, you're like, oh, not at all.
HK-47 levels.
It should be a giant tiger that just has psychic powers. That would be cool.
Aloha and Mewtwo has the stripes.
Gonna jot down Psychic Tiger here real quick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good company
Send it
name.
to Game Freak.
So you're saying you don't think he's higher than Squirtle, which is like 31?
I think it
Yeah.
goes a little bit higher than Squirtle.
I mean, it's not a fight to the death. It's just like which character is better, right?
Isn't that what
And-
Pokemon battles are?
Maybe Squirtle goes below, or sorry, maybe Mewtwo goes below Alex Vance or below Scorpion. I don't think Mewtwo's cooler than Scorpion.
No, he's not.
I
And
don't
Alex
think
Vance.
that's
I'm a
iconic.
Scorpion stan.
Charizard or Pikachu at that
No,
matter.
yeah.
So,
I have no love for, or like, I'm completely indifferent to HK-47. So.
Okay. Well, what about
Mhm.
Cassandra? You like Mewtwo better or less than Cassandra?
Probably better personally.
Yeah, like
it's
that,
hard
there's
because
that-
I have so much nostalgia. Yeah,
yeah,
There's
that-
like as an actual character.
when I look at the science, I've spent way more time with Mewtwo than Cassandra. So probably put Mewtwo
Okay.
above her.
So Mewtwo above Cassandra, below Scorpion. That means we just had to figure out is he better or worse than HK-47?
I don't think HK-47 made an entire theater of children cry.
I think this is the wrong crew for HK. It sounds like he's
Liana
above HK.
Liana is screaming as she listens to this as we wipe out HK-47.
I think. I mean,
He's
HK
still
is
on the
great.
list.
It's just
I
one
liked it.
slot down.
One slot, yeah. It's Mewtwo.
One slot. It was one
You
slot.
go up to somebody on the street. I mean, Ben, he's the street comedian. You walk up to somebody, you're like, "Do you know who Mewtwo is?" Yes. Do you know who HK-47 is? Agent 47? No. HK-47.
Has he been
No,
in The
no idea.
Mandalorian?
Yeah, no idea.
No. Yeah,
That's
I
my
think that's
argument.
fine. It's just one slot, guys.
You don't have
What's
to
the
sell
deal?
us on it.
That's what my mailman tells me when he delivers the mail to the different person. It's like, yeah, it's just one slot over.
Dude, come on. Just one slot.
Just give it to him.
My mailman is Jerry Seinfeld.
Yeah.
Great. So Mewtwo slotting in at number 29. I think it's a great list. We're up to 74 characters now. Keep sending them
almost
in,
done.
everybody. We love getting character rankings. You can send us more of those. We're still taking until the end of the year more everything.
Emails in general.
I was gonna say if you want to send us other stuff, we were trying to pick like what's the ultimate game Hall of Fame. So we might still be
Okay.
taking that,
Oh.
but we definitely want more emails in general. So podcastgameinformer.com. We'll take them all. That brings us to the last segment of the show. What's the segment we like to call Get Wrecked? Everybody,
Get
who
wrecked.
wants to go first? That's right. Alex,
I'll go first.
what do you got?
I'm going to recommend a new Gameplay Today episode on a little indie game that's about to come out. Looks really cool. I was not on this episode. I think it was Alex and maybe one of these lads on this call. I can't remember. Golf Club Wasteland. Game looks really neat. You kind of golf your way through this wasteland as the title implies. But there's like, it's kind of like, I didn't realize there's like a lot of story to it. And it's like, okay, I'm going to go on this like wasteland golf adventure and remember parts about humanity. It's like oddly like touching based on what I saw. So seems cool. Go check it out. That's my rec.
Cool. What about you, John?
Yeah, I would like to point out. Is it on the site yet? I know Jay's working on an article about how the new mobile Nier game is really awesome, and I really haven't heard that many people talking about it recently. It's been out for like a week now, but he is really likening it to a full console experience. And it sounds really awesome. I just downloaded it. I'm looking forward to playing it. But go check out Jay's article on that new Nier game.
Yeah. Jay's TV is about 3 inches across too. Like he plays all of his games on like super small screens.
Yeah,
Mhm.
makes sense.
CRT.
For this, it is. It's
Mounts
basically
to
a
his
console
wall.
experience. Yeah. Marcus, you got anything?
Heck yeah, get wrecked, everyone. Not to toot my own horn here, but I'm gonna do it. So toot toot. I wrote about Dodgeball, as we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
Dodgeball Academia, this game I'm enjoying quite a bit right now. And I've always been a fan of dodgeball as a sport. And between that and Knockout City coming out earlier this year, which I also thought was pretty fun, just discussing why, you know, dodgeball is such a great sport for video games, as well as why it's just such a great sport in general and deserves more mainstream attention kind of across the board. So I think it's called It's About Time Video Games Remember That Dodgeball is Rad. Just this short opinion piece that I put up earlier this week.
It's great.
Give that a read.
It's a very good read. Yeah, I enjoyed
Thank
it.
you. Thank you.
Great. I wanted to highlight, we talked about the James McAvoy interview, which is coming up here in a minute. I also interviewed Willem Dafoe for 12 minutes. He's one of the other cast members, along with Daisy Ridley is the third.
Yeah.
So I interviewed Willem. They didn't want us to release the audio, which is kind of weird, but we got the transcript, and so that's up on the site if you want to read us. It's another interesting interview, and Willem's like a character and doesn't play a ton of games, but it was interesting to hear him talk about his thought process and how he approaches acting for games, and if it's different than video games, or excuse me, if it's different than film. Yeah. So yeah, go read that Willem Dafoe one. Still waiting for Daisy Ridley to return my call. I'm hoping to complete the set. We'll see. Yeah, I don't know what's going on there, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I'm gonna get it.
Caught in a time loop, I hear.
That's it. That's it for us. Stay tuned for that James McAvoy interview. Otherwise, we'll see you next week. Welcome back. I have Luis Antonio, game director for 12 Minutes. And wait, who is this? Lurking in the corner, James McAvoy.
How you doing?
Famed actor. How's it going?
Yeah, not bad. Not bad. Thanks very much.
Cool. Well, thanks for jumping on and talking to us about 12 Minutes. I think maybe to jump in, Luis, you want to set us up, like give us a brief overview of what 12 Minutes is?
Yeah, it's an interactive thriller about a man trapped in a time loop. You come home from work, you're having an evening with your wife, then this intruder shows up. He accuses your wife of murder and knocks you out. And then you go back to the start of the evening and you have to use the knowledge of what you know is going to happen to try to change the outcome and hopefully break the loop.
Sounds cool. James, I'm curious. I don't think you've done many games before. So what drew you to doing this one in particular?
Kind of just a good script, really good story, and an innovative way of gaming. But I mean, like if I'd have got this script on film, stage, screen, whatever, radio, I would have been interested. The fact that it's in a game kind of doesn't make a difference. And also the fact that actually what does make a difference is that it's not even just cutscenes in the middle of all your cool shooting or running about, whatever you're doing in a cool game with your cool gameplay. It's actually what I do is interactive with what the player is doing and the experience that they're having, and it's integral to the whole experience. So that felt quite innovative and quite exciting.
That's cool. Yeah, I have a script called 13 Minutes. I'm hoping you'll maybe take a look at it. I think you'll be really impressed with it.
It's too long. It's too long.
Oh, dang it. I knew I should have shaved off a minute or two. Can you maybe break up? Can you break up with me? Can you explain your character?
Listen, it's all your fault. Not me. It is you. All right. And you know what? The sex is bad. All right.
That's hard news, but I'm glad I know now.
You never take your cans off when I'm trying to whisper sweet nothings.
I thought you liked my cans.
What?
I thought you liked my cans.
Yeah. I told you that back in the early days, but as the years have passed, have I mentioned that once? No, but you don't listen. Why? Because you get your cans on. Right.
I'm going to go live with my mother.
Great. Yeah. You're over there all the time anyway.
Luis, are you recording this? Do you want to like maybe try to get this in the game?
I want to give you guys some space, okay? Let you wrap up your...
Yeah, don't know what my question was. I think maybe could you guys describe the character you're playing, James, and I don't know, Luis, jump in there too. Like, what's this guy's deal? He's obviously the husband. Do we know anything more about him?
You don't at the beginning. No, you don't know more about him at the beginning. But I guess that's one of the things that's quite interesting is as you play the game, you learn more and more about him. You learn some surprising things about him. Also some surprising things about the other two characters in the story also. But with my character, he's the only one that gets to go back and replay with knowledge of what has happened. And growing knowledge as he goes forward. He seems like quite a sort of, I don't know, lower middle class or working class kind of everyman, quite bland, not bland, but like open to interpretation kind of guy. But as you go forward, he becomes more focused, partly because we give more to you about him in the story, but also based on the decisions that you make as a player, he'll come more into focus as well. That's what I got to say about it. Lewis?
Yeah, that was spot on. So James' character is a tricky one because he's the one that you're playing with in a way. It's the one you're using to interact with the other characters. So there had to be enough room for you to, make your choices and be aware that the character is going to reply in a way that fits with what you're trying to do, and also have a way that the knowledge that the character gets is parallel to the knowledge that you get as you play. So when he's frustrated, you're going to be frustrated that things are not working. When he succeeds in solving something, that is always mirrored. I mean, literally, the only measure of progress in this game is the way James' character reacts. The apartment doesn't change. All the characters go back to zero. So it was very important that you stay related to him. So keeping him. It's not mysterious. It's kind of what James described. Is open to be molded in a way, but also the more you go through, the more you're going to learn who he actually is and how he's interpreting what's happening to him.
For sure. James, I had heard that you once felt like you were maybe playing too many games and your work was suffering. Do you feel like you found a good balance, especially now that you're in games? Was that the compromise?
My work never suffered. Okay. But it was in danger of suffering. Right.
The razors.
Yeah, no, I was, I'd never crossed the Rubicon of that one. I was in Dublin. I was making a film called Becoming Jane with Anne Hathaway. And I was just up playing games too late. My partner at the time had bought me an Xbox 360 and bought me Oblivion, like the Eldest Souls game. And that was always my like catnip, was like fantasy role-playing games like Zelda that you've got behind you. Man, that was everything for me at one point. And like Secret of Mana, all that.
Oh yeah.
And Secret of Mana was incredible. Even like Wing Commander, sci-fi style, like early, where it was much more like almost like a flight simulator mixed with a role-playing game. It was awesome. But she got me Oblivion, and I was like, "What the hell are you doing? You're going to kill me. This is like you've given me heroin." Do you know what I mean? She was like, "You'll be fine." Okay.
Oblivion, and then
I know. And then the next thing I know, I'm like up at 6 a.m. having played all evening, and like the driver is outside waiting to take me to set, and I'm like, "Oh God, I've not been asleep. This is terrible." So I melted the CD, DVD, ROM, whatever it is. I melted it on the gas hob cooker because I was like, I need to just end this now. And I was like, I don't want to destroy the Xbox. That's a bit extreme. But I was like, I can melt the CD though. That's quite. It felt quite symbolic. Do you know what I mean? It felt quite like it was quite a strong action to take, and it was quite a line in the sand. And then I didn't really start gaming again until about 3 or 4 years ago. FIFA. Me and my kid play FIFA all the time, and then me and the boys, the 40-year-old boys, get online and we play, first-person shooters and all that kind of stuff. Get our asses handed to us by kids all the time.
Sure. So you never went back and finished Oblivion, though?
No, I don't think I did. I did finish Skyrim though, a couple of years ago, like 1 week where my kid was away. I had nobody around and I had no work and the weather was bad. And I was like, I'm getting a role-playing game and I'm going to finish it. And that's the kind of exciting dude I am. You know what I mean?
No, that's the kind of guy I am too. I see why we broke up. We're too similar.
It's, you can't have two peas in a pod when the peas taste the same.
That's right. What was the experience like working on 12 Minutes though? Was it different than you expected? Different than other acting work, I'm sure?
It was different. You know what? It wasn't that different from doing an animated movie or series or something like that. Where it was incredibly different was that usually you give like a couple of options and they go like, okay, could you make this slightly more angry or slightly less angry or slightly funnier or you know, could you whisper this or whatever? Ooh. And but this was like, hey, could you do this 300 different ways? And you're like, oh my God. That's why usually you can get through animated stuff and voice work pretty quickly. I think we did 50 plus episodes of Sandman in like 4.5, 5 days. But this was months of work for a very good reason. We needed a million choices. The player gets to make not infinite choices, but when you combine the possible combinations, it's almost infinite. So
and you were like, I thought this was going to be 12 minutes.
Yeah, I know. You're like, this game's 12 minutes. So that was the big difference, and it was ultimately quite taxing on just your voice, just kind of reductively, just your voice was pretty knackered
sure.
At the end of every session.
Yeah. Well, I know you guys have limited amount of time, so you got to get going soon, but I'm curious to know any final thoughts. Why should people be excited? Why should they pick this game up? James or Lewis?
Lewis, you go first because you made it.
I mean, I think this game is doing something that, I mean, there's a reason I wanted to do it, where because you're put into this situation that is in an enclosed space, and because you're not told what to do, there's this freedom, right? There's this freedom of exploration where you cannot quite see where the walls are. And every time you loop, you get a bit more of a breadcrumb of information, and this keeps going over and over until it gets to levels that I think are really interesting. And then you as a player, because you're not being told what to do, you don't even know what you're supposed to be doing. You decide by yourself what's the direction you're going to take. And I think it's a nice play space that is not usual in video games. And I'm curious, I'm really curious how people are going to react. We've had people love it. We had people cry. We had people hate it. So when it goes out to the general population, I'm just very curious to see how it's going to go.
I feel like for decades, had games offered to us that provide apparently an open world where endless choices and you decide what to happen. Really, it's like, it is an open world kind of, but you ride like 4 hours to get to the opposite end of the open world. And then you get to the thing and the person goes, what do you want to do? And you get two choices. And you go, okay, it took me a long time to get here in this open world. And I've got, even if it's like 8 choices, you're like, and they're all fairly non-consequential in terms of the outcome, or maybe they are, but like really there's only 2 or 3 that you should be making and all that kind of stuff. I think what Lewis has done in this game is he's not gone like, you need to ride 4 hours on a dragon to get to here. You're stuck in these rooms, these tiny little rooms, like 3 or 4 little rooms. But the open world comes from the mind of the characters and the options open to the characters. And while they're not literally infinite, they are multitudinous.
For sure. You think you'll play this game when it comes out then, James?
Absolutely fucking not. Are you kidding me? You think I'm a fucking nerd? No, yeah, I will. Although I don't have an Xbox and I don't have a PC, so it's going to be difficult, but I'll find a way.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe you can afford those now. I don't know. They've come down in price a little bit.
Mate, you don't get all the way to the middle by making bad financial choices like owning a second PlayStation or console.
See, this is why I'm not rich. But thank you. And I'm sorry we had to end it this way. Hopefully we can be friends going forward. Thank you for being on the show, man. James and Lewis. Really appreciate it. Good luck with the game. I'm excited to play it. Thank you, man.
Yeah. That was fun.
Thanks. And thank you for watching or listening to this episode of the show. Come back next week. We'll have another one for you. Bye.